My name is Kerry Andrews and I'm the Executive Director at Level Centre, and today is the culmination of our HouseFound event, and we've got some wonderful performances ahead of us this evening. So we've got a wonderful hour of performances that really culminates and brings together the remainder of today. There's going to be short pauses between each performance, and that's really to enable the transitions between artists performing at home. As mentioned at the start of the day, Cathy Mungle-Baldwin is unwell, so we've had to make a change to our original schedule. But we are really fortunate to be able to share a short introduction and pre-recorded film that Cathy shared with us with an original song called Multicoloured View. So we're going to now go over to the pre-recorded song by Cathy performing an original song, Multicoloured View, before we watch our live performances from artists who have difficulty leaving their home. Thank you.
This is a song called Multicoloured View. I wrote it myself, and it's about when you meet a special person and your world just suddenly becomes multicoloured with the strength of the connection. And in this case, another neurodiverse person, a different type of neurodiverse, and it's about how two colourful brains that think in very different ways, neither of them kind of typical way of thinking about things, how they get on, and those occasional moments of disconnect where it's almost like you're speaking another language, and how is it that you overcome disconnect and kind of understand how each other's thinking and try and get back on the same page.
I took a journey to you, cautiously into the blue, leaked down my luck and got lost in the you. I'm a feeling kind, we're learning to refine. I'm looking for bridges between a multicolored view, joining down slowly, make this rising thing true. Leaving rational mind, I'm a feeling kind, we're learning to refine. I'm looking for bridges between your mind and mine. Help me find circuits where our wires align. Differently wired, we're doing just fine. Was feeling so safe and well connected, but boxing up your wells caused a circuit breaker. Don't trivialize my emotions with your rational inflection. Trust is the guide of every pure connection. Without it, there is a fully integration. Love's another feel with your differentiation. Show up for me just cause I need you. I took a journey with you. Where's it leading to? Making our way round the space we're walking through. Be very rational mind. I'm a feeling kind. We're learning to refine. I'm looking for bridges between headline. Differently wired, we're doing just fine.
We hope Kathy gets better soon, and we're really grateful that we've been able to show a moment of Kathy with us today, even though she can be here with us as a live performance. So we're now going to actually watch our first live performance by Manchester-based Connor Elwood. He brings us his conversational style to investigate how to navigate the realm of self-care when getting better at not getting better. Mindfulness light, and 50% less likely to cause you to try real yoga. Join Connor Elwood behind the scenes at the disability-led Mindfulness Light YouTube channel for a recording of this Won't Make You Fit yoga class. Find out if meditation is just lazy yoga and learn about the chronic conundrum and the pain paradox. Over to you, Connor.
Hello. This pose brings us... That's the wrong thing. Can you see me now? Hello. This pose brings us to the end of the first part of this Won't Make You Fit yoga class. Just think, if someone with a chronic health condition or invisible disability like myself can learn to do this, just imagine what Mindfulness Light could do for you. Now we're going to take our first comfort break. During the break, I would like you to find a mug and just stare at it. And when we come back, I will teach you the shortest, most powerful meditation technique I've ever been taught. See you in 10. Cut. Ugh. Hello, my Patreon friends. How are you? Hope you've been enjoying this behind the scenes at the Mindfulness Light. Laying on the floor meditation. But I was struggling because I was in pain that day and I shouldn't have really gone outside, but I had to go outside because I needed to go to the pain management course. And so I was trying to do meditation. I couldn't because of pain. So I said to the man, me pain, stop. I can't do what? Help. And he said, if you're in pain, don't meditate. But I'm in pain. This is a pain management course. If you're in pain, don't meditate. Oh my God, I'm always in pain. We don't do refunds. I was sick of able-bodied people telling a disabled person how to exercise like an able-bodied person. Ridiculous. And I was sick of getting stretch shamed by Pretzel Pete and Foldable Fiona. Better at not getting better. Ethos and catchphrase all in one. So let's go. Yeah. So we did, that was a cool name for the ethos and the origin story, but we needed a name for the fitness program. We struggled. So 5 pints later, Barry started going on about his kids. And he said, when he's trying to teach the kids something new, he tells them to be gentle and push gently. And I thought, wow, that's fantastic. That's basically what I've been doing. Ability angle in the advertising. We were, what were we expecting? Matcha tea and rice cakes. I'm health conscious, not a sadist. When we lent in on my disability in the advertising, we were inundated with virtue signaling hipsters. And you know how much of a sucker they are for a good catchphrase. Mindfulness Light. 50% less likely to cause you to try real yoga. And look, the first class, that freaks them out completely. Because I spent the first 15 minutes ranting about how all exercise is inherently ableist. And then we watched 40 minutes of a Davina Call DVD to illustrate my point. And then we do 5 minutes of what even my disability benefit provider doesn't consider an activity. Some get angry Some are livid, especially when I remind them that the name of the class is This Won't Make You Fit. And they come back the next week and I know I've got them. So then I push them for 7 minutes of slow movement that makes Tai Chi look frenetic. And I tell them the truth. That upside down thing, I can only do that. It took me 2 years to learn how to do. I can only do it 6 months of the year and only once a day if I'm lucky. Very, very lucky. But they keep coming back. I think mainly they like watching me react to whichever soap stars brought out an exercise DVD that month. I realise I'm a wrong un for peddling the whole disabled inspiration thing. I get it. Most of us don't want that sort of pressure, and the only gold medal we want is in successfully dunking biscuits and watching Bake Off. But that inspiration stuff's paying for my new kitchen, so swings and roundabouts. Now, you can't be just purely inspirational. You want a little bit of spirituality in there. Now, any Instagram wellness meme will do. Also, if you can add a little sliver of trauma in between the inspirational slices of Wonder Bread, you'll have made the most motivational of sandwiches. The namaste on rye. I'm sorry, I should be punished for those puns. All right, I've got my coffee. Let's go. So we're up. Inspiration or trauma, why are those the only stories they really like us to tell? We lose our pub quizzes on Wednesdays like everybody else, if we can get in the building. Now, it is hard working with the able-bodied hipsters. Occasionally you get the there but for the grace of God look in their eye. And like if I spot them, I make them feel as guilty as F about it. It's lovely to watch as they go from downward dog into guilty little puppies. It's a lot of fun. Now, another thing that happens, and this happens a lot, is you get the, oh, my Auntie Maureen's brother's cousin's dad's stepdad has the same condition as you. It happens so often I've given it a name. The 6 degrees of Alex Brooker. Now, another thing they struggle with a lot is what I call the chronic conundrum. It's that difference between a chronic health condition and a more run-of-the-mill health condition. Able-bodied people kind of think in terms of symptoms, doctor, heal. Whereas we're more symptoms, doctor, here's a Wikipedia page printout of something that you'll find difficult to say for 6 months. And best of luck with that. And that cognitive dissonance between chronic and normal, that makes them say stupid things and ask silly questions like this sort of, I hear mustard works wonders. Whoa. Now, I think they say all of that because of hope. They want to live in a world where if something bad happens to them, that it'll be okay. And it's that conspiracy theory of hope that's at the heart of every fad and every little contraption that makes your life supposedly better. Nowadays, actually, when people ask me to kind of describe it, I just say it's life altering. And that tends to shut them up, which is nice. Now, I realize I've been upside down and moving about, but all of this is heavily curated to disguise the fact that when the lights go off and you're not here, I won't be like this and I won't talk like this. And for many people, apart from people closest to me, my disability can seem invisible, but that's only because I only tend to let you see me when I'm at my best. But you can't say all of this stuff to able-bodied people because it freaks out their empathy gland and they do that weird smile, you know, the pity disguised as sympathy disguised as empathy. I call it the social worker smile. All right, I always get back and talk to them about what mug they chose. So now I didn't let the whole don't meditate when you're in pain crowd stop me from meditating. I went out and I learned at the feet of many a YouTube guru. I learned a lot from the Spirituality Collective, the Potpourri Spirituality Collective. Actually, that meditation that I teased them with earlier, you know, the shortest, most powerful, I learned that from them. Now, I tell them that this meditation is called 3 Breaths for a Better Life. It's actually called 3 Breaths for a Better Life for Other People. It's a dead simple one. It's just 3 breaths and then 3 words, 1 word for each breath, kind of a spiritual hands, face space. The ones I give to them to use are listen, learn, reflect, your basic empathy starter kit. Actually, I had a lot of positive feedback about that one. So I thought I'd give it a go myself, but I changed it to something more useful for my life. You know, because I'm an atheist. I don't believe in nirvana. And at the time, all I really wanted to do was be able to get off the floor without crying. So these are the 3 I use, the 3 little phrases. If you want to join me, you can. How did they go? Okay, if you close your eyes, if you feel comfortable doing that, and for the first breath, I'd like you to think, I'm not okay. And the second breath, I'd like you to think, that's okay. On the third breath, be gentle. You can open your eyes now. Congratulations, you've done a meditation. Now, I have to get back and give these lot their little thing about the mugs. So, hello, and welcome back. I hope you found the right mug to look at. Now, I think there's much that the able-bodied community can learn from the disabled community. I think in terms of chronic illnesses, there are many real-world and contemplative paradoxes that, when coupled with meditation, are more mind-altering than an ayahuasca retreat. I'd like to share some with you now. You can find more in my upcoming book, Zen and the Art of the Reasonable Adjustment. These are the ways of the reasonable adjustment. If life is pain, and fibromyalgia is pain and fatigue, in a game of top trumps, who wins, me or the Buddha? On the topic of fatigue, if you're too awake to sleep and too asleep to function, what can you do? Which came first, the ergonomic office chair or the reasonable adjustment in the workplace? If you only tend to see me when I'm at my best, but you only rarely see me, how bad are things really? If your doctor is in a forest and he shouts out your diagnosis and there's no one there to hear it, are you?
Rick is performing performance poetry that examines social justice and identity and what it means to be simultaneously highly visible and yet ignored. To our audience at home, please note that this performance
30, the number of minutes that they actually had the room according to the printed schedule on the door. It had been coming for weeks, and the tweets had been growing in their trending from Wuhan to northern Italy, and now it was here, and the government had been sleeping. 5, the number of COBRA meetings they say the Prime Minister had missed. 18, the number of times today he had heard the word unprecedented. This meeting was meant to prepare him, apparently, as if he hadn't been watching already, as if his neurodivergent brain had not been paying attention. Misnomer, attention deficit disorder. There is no deficit. 1.3% of the population will succumb to it, according to data from northern Italy and Wuhan, and this will mean 750,000, the number of people dying in the UK if it is left unchecked. And it was here, and the government had been sleeping. 4. The number of A-levels that he had. 2. The number of A-levels in mathematics. 6. The number of models in statistics and modelling. He'd been running the numbers for weeks, checking them all morning, as was his wont. He could see where this was heading, how the rates were doubling, a lockdown was coming. He could read trends and graphs the way most people read ABCs. I give it a fortnight, he says. 8. The number of chairs in the room. 4. The number of underlying conditions he has that make him vulnerable to this new virus. Vulnerable. A new deployment of that particular word, a new form of classification, unprecedented, a new variable to consider in this new world. At a death rate of 1.3%, second-order effects, tertiary effects, follow the crippling of supply chains and medical systems. Chaotic, interconnected systems like cities, like countries, like world trade, have tipping points and crunch points, he says. When failures come, they can cascade. 90. The number of seconds he had missed the Aldgate bomb by on the 7th of July. 5. The number of kilometres he had walked from Liverpool Street to Waterloo in order to catch a train out of London. He had personal experience of the collapse of integrated systems. 300. The number of Spartans it took to stop an empire when in the right place. She was explaining to him how they would set him up to work from home to reduce his risk. He was still running numbers. 12. The number of weeks they felt any lockdown would be. 12 to 18, the number of months it would take to develop a vaccine. These two figures did not compute. Images of the Spartans came back. 3. The number of missed meals any society is from collapse. Complex, integrated systems. He is explaining the law of large numbers, how this makes the outcomes more predictable on a macro level, how public spaces are now off limits to the vulnerable, how in lieu of a vaccine or therapeutic, that might never change. So this might be his last normal day. Too many tears now streaming his face to count. Cascade, failure. 3. The number of people in his immediate family who are also vulnerable. How he now fears for them, and how many of them he might lose, how he would give himself instead if he could choose. 4. The number of underlying conditions he has. Never saw himself as vulnerable until today. Never saw himself as disabled until today. 5. The number of stages of grief gone through already. All things being equal, it is safe to assume this is his last normal day. Not long after, a conversation with marketing over Zoom. As business concludes, it is spring on a golden afternoon. As business concludes, it is spring on a golden afternoon, dappled sunlight undressing the box room. It is early days, but he knows he is in this for the long haul, and so he humours her anyway. Could she heart skim again? So will you be a chunk, a drunk, or a hunk by the end of it, she says. Working from home, she says. You know, will you comfort eat or binge drink or go on a fitness kick with the extra time working from home by the end of it, chunk, drunk, or hunk? She is oblivious to the new life he is looking at. Being in this for the long haul didn't mean the conversation. He is wondering if he could admit how none of these picks is really an option when you're talking indefinitely because of vulnerability and the discipline it would require to maintain things without an end date looming. That this is pending lockdown is not for him a temporary state, not a holiday. Furlough is not a holiday. COVID isn't going away, not for him, he is thinking, but he humours her and he ponders it. Distance to the fridge, perilously short for the totality of working hours, dangerous for the long haul. No answers at the bottom of a bottle, but fewer questions as well, dangerous for the long haul. It is early days. Masks people wear already slipping as they are refusing to wear actual ones. He is wondering when he will next see the inside of a pub or a nightclub again, realizing it might be never. And it is early days. What about Monk? He says. Buying time, distraction and diversionary tactics learned from chess. I mean, those who are single in lockdown with the imposed abstinence. He knows dancing this close to flirting will require processing, give him time to stop grieving in response to a seemingly innocent question. Time so he can work out his confession that vulnerable means he can't play this game, can't pin hopes on normality again in case it never comes. We are in the early days, and he is in it for the long haul. She's laughing at the disaster, the idea of couples moving in before they're ready. Never thought of that. It's going to be carnage. And suddenly he is thinking about all the bad days, all the bad things that might happen behind closed doors, realizing that chunk or drunk or hunk is just the tip of the iceberg, a game of privilege. Everything was changing. Everyone would be changing. There would be suffering. Going for hunk, he finally says. Everyone should be focused on what they can do to improve things. This is the truth, he thinks. A counter to privilege, the perfect diplomatic answer, a statement of intent that can be followed even by the long haulers. A tsunami is coming. There's a moment before the wave hits that the sea retreats. Spring rains are steamy hiss on the window pane. Weeks have long lost their internal structures without the rhythm of their end. Days have long lost feel, so he is reading again, hungry for understanding, chewing over the social model of disability, how it is barriers in society, not individual impairments. Accessibility is literally about removing barriers to entry. Obvious, really. He turns another leaf, starts chewing on the inference that in this society, being born without inheritance means your body is the entirety of your capital, all that you can sell, all that you can exchange for wealth, the cells of your frame. Spring rains on steamy windows. The nation is a hot zone, hot house. It has been from day one. He has lost 7 people in 3 months. So today he is reading again, hungry for escape. Epidemiology, herd immunity, and vaccines. He is wondering what came first, his fascination with risk or understanding his medical conditions. Hungry for understanding. Suddenly, a lifetime of consultations overlaid and overlapping prophylactic antibiotics over open heart surgery diagrams, explanations of immunosuppression. In this society, your capital is your body's worth. This is your capital. And your chassis is bent. Clinically vulnerable. The new definition, new devaluation, the new normal to be compared against, and suddenly you are less, worth less, and worthless. Chewing it over, he is hungry for understanding how grieving for yourself is possible, and the waters of the ocean are retreating. The natural distribution is neither just nor unjust. Nor is it unjust that persons are born into a society at some particular position. These are simply natural facts. What is just and unjust is the way that institutions deal with these facts. John Rawls. Days are beginning to repeat themselves. He's wondering if he'd noted that already. Hissing on the pain, pathetic fallacy of a sympathetic universe time loop or content on the streamers again. Melange of days is spicy, repeating, bending time and space, reflux capacitor, acidic, habitual and institutionalized over and over, bile. He's deep into it now. And the only thing that ever changes each new day brings new enemies to the horizon. This new normal of growing tensions. The danger is invisible and everywhere. Giant Luddites who won't vaccinate, giant deniers who won't wear masks, giant deniers who don't keep their distance in public spaces, either real or virtual. An old friend is arguing on a message board that for the good of us all, we should be taking the vulnerable away. Just hide them away somewhere, under a carpet, under the stairs. Old friend, new enemy, giant pain. We stop short of Godwin's law. As the giant neoliberals are bullish, competing to see how big their credentials, based on how many they'd personally be willing to slaughter. Losses to the economy not acceptable. Better to make offerings on the Bank of England's altar, barbarians at the interest rates. And recruitment consultants are ghosting him after finding out his status. They want him to sign away his death in service benefits. They are covering bases and ticking boxes, tick, tick, tick. Freedom Day was not for everyone. And the TV is ringing red roses. At issue, how we all fall down. Tick, tick, tick. It is safest at home, and he is wondering about Howard Hughes, what it means to be a recluse. He is reading and chewing and building walls for the long haul. He is deep into it now. It is a game of defense, like chess. Anxiety is moves ahead. This inexorable slide, reminds him of the utility monster and Nozick, the reductio logic of wielding utility without morality. He sees moves ahead, seeing how societies on this slope end in oppression. Some are born well, some achieve wellness, some have wellness thrust upon them. If 5% of a population derive more pleasure and utility from a thing than the 95% remaining can ever do collectively, then logically the 5% must have it. And on the flip side, if you can concentrate all of society's suffering on a small minority, sacrifice the few so the many can thrive, this too becomes acceptable, if not entirely ethical. Some are born well, some achieve wellness, some have wellness thrust upon them. He was moves ahead. There had been great initial concern. The speed of adaptations, the pivots to digital were remarkable, but these would be matched by the return. The clinically vulnerable under house arrest indefinitely. His heightened anxiety had worked out so many of these potential futures that he knew, all other things being equal, exactly how many he had survived in, by proportion, percentage, and bifurcated lineage. Anxiety had him moves ahead. Seeing them selling the dream of 5% suffering and the rest free. Seeing them forgetting that freedom predicated on suffering is tyranny. Seeing them reworking Arbeit Macht free. All society becoming a monster of utility, its gaping maw outside his front door, so as summer came, he was finishing his walls, made of weighted blankets and the silken cocoon of a bed, zugzwang and stalemate, a game of defense, like chess. He would lie and wait. Some are born well, some achieve wellness, some have wellness thrust upon them. Cell, pupa, chrysalis. This hanging vessel, is it stop motion or time lapse? Imperceptible change, a state of flux, threads silken memory through the soup of self, a high count cotton, wrapped in sheets, night sweats seep. Hell, people, they're precious. Anxiety dreams. Does the inchworm know it will fly, destined to melt in this hideaway back to base code by heat and by pressure remade? DNA is change. Yard muscles. Prison. Cell. Park days. When the sun has warm enough measure that sitting in the shade is pleasure, it flits through. Memory fleeting, dancing on a breeze. There is a tale about a boy and his pet caterpillar, how it remade itself inside its silken walls, but when struggling to emerge from the sponge shell, the boy cut the chrysalis, and his impatience meant the wings did not swell in the battle to be free and were too weak to support the butterfly, and the butterfly died. Having been the caterpillar so recently, I hate this story. It strikes me as neoliberal indolent deniability. Don't help them, their struggle is necessary. Don't bother with adaptations if they are too much headache. They need the tests and trials to be shaped. And all of it reminiscent of misquoted Darwinism about the fittest, that ignores the fact that evolution is glacial and gradual, and the fittest in this case are the best adapted. And they say all this as if society isn't an artifice, all our surroundings an artifice that we can shape however we see fit. The purpose of a society is to support and uplift its most vulnerable members. So if a society fails to do this, it is not fit for purpose. Wings need to develop in struggle, but if they do not, a fit society should find a way to lift every butterfly, find a way to weigh each breath the same, until each wing beat has meaning, has time and space to spawn hurricanes, half a world away. Epilogue. It is the centenary of the party at the Overlook, July 4th, 1921. And I am haunting myself. I am Jack, shining. Looking back, I've always chewed paper, something called pica, and there have always been numbers and books building walls. I have always played chess, and many times have I taken to my bed before. Looking back, I've always been vulnerable, always been emerging. Writers get to do that and be reclusive too. And 1921 was post-Spanish flu. And maybe we can have these roaring 20s to improve. And I am haunting myself. I am Jack, smiling. Jack, be quick, and Jack, be nimble. Looking back to chunk or drunk or hunk, it has always been my nature to chew paper, to want to build defences in words and knowledge, make muscle memory wings in my melting, always outside the box on things, always punk, if you're asking. Half a pound of tuppenny rice and half a pound of treacle. Looking back, it was always in my DNA, the base coded, coiled and ready to be cranked into tension, always the echoes of struggle in emergence to remake what was destroyed, to repurpose, to rebuild. All work and no play makes Jack a dull boy. Looking back, I can see the path of this hungry caterpillar melting and rebirth, how I haunt myself, mourned myself first. Looking back, I can see the path we trod, where I became what was left, where chaos ordered this butterfly in full effect, with the wings to wild the sky, to change the world, to try. Half a pound of tuppenny rice and half a pound of treacle, a full measure of out-of-the-box defiance. I am Butterfly, Jack, the slayer of giants.
Thank you for performing Diary of a Butterfly. To close the HouseFound Symposium, we've got performance by Elle Shunt, who's going to be performing original music for us. First up, we have a piece called The Ashes. That's followed by Painted Red. And finally, the last piece performed is called Origami. We would really like to thank Elle Shunt for stepping in at such short notice. Over to you, Elle. Thank you.
Hi. Thanks so much for having me. Yes, this first track is called In the Ashes. Break me, you can try. If you can find enough pieces, what you set my world on fire. So pack my heart and turn to run, though I'm already losing. 'Cause when the fire starts, I'll turn to dust. But still I keep on choosing to love you, love to love you, love to love you, love and never ask what you needed. So break me, you can try. If you can find enough pieces, would you set my world on fire? Keep my little secret. Thank you. I'll be moving on to the next song, which is called Painted Red. Painted red with a body of gold. What for your light, for your light. Always promise your body when your body can move. My soul, your body, always Thank you. Yeah, that track was called Painted Red, and it was done as part of a radical body performance called Seasick. So, yep. The next track I will be performing is called Origami, and it's from my EP, which just came out on Sunday. So, hope you enjoy. That we fell onto the open arms, paper trees weaving our bodies. You pin and you fold me into your body, and I wrap around you. I clutch the pieces of your art, folding carefully, merging you and me. Those perfect creases, who you are. This is what we meet, forest and the sea. You pin and you fold me into your body, and I wrap around you ever so softly. You pin and you hold me into your body, 'cause you love to fold me like origami. Thank you so much for having me. I've been Alshan, and yeah, big thank you to HouseFound for having me this evening, and also massive appreciation for all the other performers. Thank you.